Hey, this is Allison from Moon Phase Launches, and I wanted to share with you a podcast episode that I did all about my spiritual journey. Um, so I recorded this in 2020, and it was just during the lockdowns and everything. And I decided to start a podcast called Human Connections, and I did this whole recording about my spiritual journey. So I'm going to share it with you right now. Thank you for tuning in to another week of my Human Connection podcast. This week, I'll be talking about my spiritual journey, and I hope you enjoy my story from my awakening in 2013 to the present date, which is July 24th, 2020. I haven't published a podcast in 2 weeks because I've been struggling to come up with a positive topic. You know that saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And since I tend to get caught up in negativity, I like to keep this saying in mind for my podcast show, which is all about human connection and human touch. It needs to be uplifting and positive for you, my audience. Today, I want to share my spiritual journey because anyone who goes through an awakening or an intense spiritual journey goes in one end as a certain person and comes out the other side significantly changed. As a bystander, you might be wondering what happened to this person. How did their personality change so much? What did you miss? Who are they now? And do you still like them? And will your friendship be able to transcend the changes? It's possible that you will just decide to distance yourself from them altogether. One thing I know is that my relationships have changed big time since I began my spiritual journey. My eldest child says that I'm a completely different person from the mom who raised him. My youngest child, Damien, who's a toddler, gets to benefit completely from what I consider to be some major upgrades to the core of who I am. First, let's talk about what is a spiritual journey? Like, what are the components of a spiritual journey? I think that everyone has their own experience, so this is what happened in my own journey so far. For me, the biggest components of my spiritual journey include number one, the detoxification and purification of my mind, body, and soul. Number two, the integration of my soul. This is moving from walking in ego to walking in God, so to speak. Number three is shadow work. Number four is knowing yourself and knowing your worth. And number five is moving from serving yourself to serving God and getting in alignment with your soul purpose. For me, I couldn't do this by myself. I believe I was called to wake up and given an opportunity by the universe to do just that. In 2013, I was invited by a new friend who I'd only known for about a month to attend a spiritual class called Joy Classes. I went to the open house and decided right away that I was in. After meeting the teacher, Jeff, I knew that these classes were what I'd been waiting for my whole life. Like, when I was growing up, I always thought that something was missing and that there had to be something more to life. And these classes helped me to understand that there is something so much more to life. But we're just not taught this in Western society. We're not taught this in our schools or our families. And I actually think it's because they don't know, because they weren't taught. So the Joy classes ran every Monday night for me and consisted in studying and discussing certain spiritual lessons. It was an initiation of sorts. And once you decide to wake up, there's no going back to sleep. It's kind of like when you get pregnant. It's a lifetime commitment, but you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. This is exactly what it's like for going into spiritual lessons and classes. The breakthrough for me came with a 9-day fast in March 2014. And this was a long fast. For a 9-day fast is very long. I was allowed to pick one fruit and really eat as much of that one fruit as I wanted in the day. And I could also drink fruit juices, but I had to cut out everything else to purify and detox my body. I had never done a fast before. In fact, I'd probably never gone without food for more than a couple hours every day of my entire life. I actually thought I was going to die. I was also scared to tell anyone about the fast. I didn't know what people would think, and I didn't want to be judged. This fast was the most pivotal moment of my life. 2 days into the fast, I felt better than I'd felt in years. I had so much energy. I had clarity of thought. It was like a fog was lifted from my being, and I became lighter and I became more me. I was absolutely blown away and mystified. The trouble came when I went to reintegrate food into my body. After a 9-day fast, you need to bring food back into your body slowly and in very small quantities at first. Think broth, clear broth, or soup. I decided to bring one of those super healthy granola bars with me to work, and I had it as a snack in the morning. Interestingly, my body couldn't tolerate it at all. My tummy instantly swelled out like I was 5 months pregnant, and I found myself running for the toilet. Did this mean I couldn't eat granola bars anymore? After some trial and error, I discovered that gluten was the cause of my digestion issues, and actually the cause of many more of my health problems, including infertility. But that's a topic for another day. I'll actually be appearing as a guest on a podcast specifically discussing my gluten-free journey. So stay tuned for more information on that event, which is coming up in August. So that was the detox of my body. Another spiritual endeavor is the detoxification and purification of my mind. Without awareness or discipline, your mind is basically on a runaway train. The amount of negative thoughts and patterns swirling around is extremely limiting and detrimental. Our critical voices continuously speak up and run us down, especially when we try to leave our boxes. How do you train your mind? The best way is through meditation, of course. You knew I was going to say that right. Meditation teaches you how to clear your mind and keep it clear. It can be really frustrating at first, and it takes many tries to get the hang of it. And this is why many people dislike meditation, and very few can stick with it so that it actually starts helping them. Interestingly, as soon as you get the hang of it, you start enjoying it. It becomes a haven of sorts where you can have peace of mind and just be in the moment. For me, meditation changed everything. It gave me permission to relax and do something just for me. It was quiet and calming and peaceful. I began scheduling daily meditation sessions and greatly looked forward to those moments. After a while, you realize what you are doing. Meditation is the gateway for connecting with your higher self. Your higher self has trouble communicating with you if you fill every moment of every day and are entertaining your ego's thoughts and critical voice. Until you make it a priority to spend some time daily to be quiet and still, you will probably be unable to establish and nurture a relationship with your higher self. During the joy classes, a key exercise is called Release and Clear. This is a passage that you recite for 21 nights, and it helps you to accept all those bad things that have happened to you and conflicts that have come up in relationships. This Release and Clear exercise makes it okay to realize that you aren't going to get along with everyone. You aren't going to please everyone. And this is okay. Disagreeing with people is just a part of life. What we need to do is acknowledge and accept that some relationships aren't going to work out. Some people need to exit your life. Some people were there to teach you a lesson, or vice versa, but it's time to forgive them, let them go, and wish them well. Being at peace with your past and present relationships is all part of my next talking point about my spiritual journey, which is called shadow work. Dun dun dun. Shadow work. I'd say shadow work is the longest and most scary part of everyone's spiritual journey. This is why many people don't even start on the path in the first place. I mean, who wants to dig up all of their own dirt? Who wants to open their dark closets and look under their beds? Shadows aren't even just from this lifetime. Once you open the door, you realize there are shadows haunting you from previous lifetimes and even the lifetimes of your ancestors. Shadow work consists of working through various traumas that happened in your life and also healing your inner child. You need to first uncover your shadows and acknowledge them. You can journal about them and figure out what lessons and gifts they brought you. You can forgive and heal them. You can thank them for being a part of your life and send them on their way because the pain and suffering isn't serving you any longer. Basically, you are transmuting the shadows from dark to light, from pain into love. You are literally doing yourself and the world a huge service. You can even heal relationship conflicts with someone else all by yourself. You don't need to contact every single person in your life that you've had an issue with. Actually, I wouldn't recommend this. You can just perform a healing ceremony or a ritual all by yourself, and this will help you to move past these traumas and dark points in your life. Then you'll be able to move forward and live fully at peace with the experiences. Everyone needs to know that they can start over at any time. You do not need to be burdened for your entire life with all of the bad things that have happened to you. We get a second chance and a third one, and as many chances as we need to grow and learn. Whatever happens, it's all perfect and exactly right for us. Everything happens for a reason. And this is all to help us learn the ultimate lesson in life, which is that we need to love ourselves. After we've started our shadow work, next on the list is knowing ourselves and knowing our worth. An important part of spiritual growth is to know thyself and honor thyself. What do you like? What do you dislike? What are your preferences, strengths, and weaknesses? What excites you? What bores you? Where do you like to travel, and what types of vacations do you enjoy most? Who are your favorite friends and relatives, and why is this? For me, I used to call myself a chameleon. I would shift and change into the people I was interacting with and try really, really hard to fit in. I didn't want to draw attention to myself, and I was totally mortified if I somehow embarrassed myself. I just wanted everyone to like me, and I tried very hard to please everyone, except myself. And I have to admit now that this plan always backfires. The more you try to make people like you, the more they dislike you, and eventually they don't want to be near you. Eventually, for me, after trying to be like others, I lost my own sense of identity. Deeper or more serious relationships can be even more detrimental to the individual. Like marriage, for example. I know that I lost myself in my marriage and became miserable because I forgot who I was. I stopped doing anything that I liked and eventually was unable to be myself. When you aren't being yourself, you are doing a disservice to both yourself and others. It's also unsustainable. And it can cause major health issues. I know that for me, weight gain is a huge clue that I'm unhappy. I used to console myself with food like chocolate and muffins and mochas, that sort of thing, and all the pounds that come with them. after reading a zillion self-help books, they didn't bring me closer to me either. It was the joy classes that sparked this part of my inner work. Who am I is the most important question you'll ever ask yourself. And the answer, of course, is simply, I am. I am that I am, and I am that I am that I am. And this is the most powerful statement you'll ever say. Try saying it out loud right now. I am. Doesn't it feel good? I'd say the world's biggest problem right now is that all of us as a collective don't know our worth. We feel unworthy, and this is a huge spiritual challenge to overcome. How often do you say, I am worthy? Do you feel it? Do you believe it with all of your heart? I can see it right now on people's faces that many people feel unworthy, especially with those wearing masks. Anyone wearing a mask and who wholeheartedly is advocating for the masking up of all people in society right now, not those who just want to buy their groceries or run their errands in peace for the love of God. Those people right now who do not feel worthy and deserving of fresh air and oxygen. Not only do they not feel like they can place their own selves first, they feel as though everyone else should sacrifice their own well-being for the good of others too. This, of course, is completely backwards. Learning my own value and worth has been quite a struggle for me. This is an area where I'm generally taking one step forward and two steps back. Repeat. I've done so much work in this area and had help from a mindset coach too. Try repeating these phrases and see how you feel about them. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am worthy and deserving of joy and love in my life. I am worthy and deserving of being in relationships that fill up my cup and make me feel whole. I am worthy and deserving to be performing work that I am passionate about. I am worthy and deserving of prosperity and abundance in my life. Before you feel worthy, you are more likely to give in to other people's suggestions or demands. You might follow the crowd, try to fit in, and not draw attention to yourself. But this also means that you'll stay in jobs you hate for longer, and the same with relationships. You'll make do and shoot for the status quo, not knowing that you could be aiming so much higher for yourself. When you don't know your worth, you'll probably be asking other people what you should do, and then just do that, without asking yourself what you want and then going after your dreams. You might even blame others for your problems too, and not take responsibility for your own life and decisions. It's really easy to fall off your path this way, be out of alignment every day, and just be miserable and be okay with that. It's easier to stick with what you know and what you're used to than get up the courage to make positive changes. But once you feel worthy, you will be inspired to make positive changes. You'll create goals and go after them, big goals. You won't settle. You'll actually do what you want and create your own reality. Soon you will be the master of your life and not the passenger. And this change is absolutely critical for ascending the spiritual ladder. You are worthy of God, you are worthy of yourself, and you are worthy and deserving of abundance, prosperity, love, and joy. Once you have all of these things in place, your body, mind, and spirit are purified and strengthened. You have tamed your ego and integrated your soul more into your being. You've done your shadow work. You know yourself and you know your worth, and you are moving into alignment with your soul purpose. You have seriously outgrown the old you. You may even become unrecognizable to your former self. In my case, I know that former self person is me, but it's more like looking through the looking glass and feeling so much love and respect for that person who I once was. She helped me get where I am so much, and a piece of her is held deep within my heart and will always be a part of me. But I have grown and expanded into a more powerful and radiant version of myself now. I am confident. I have boundaries. I can say no. I can say yes. I can take ownership of everything around me and feel at one and at peace with myself. The biggest change is that I love myself unconditionally. I have finally learned a major life lesson that love doesn't come from external sources, it comes from within. The love that comes to me in my external world is a direct reflection of how much I love myself. Phew, this is a huge life lesson for me. By loving myself, I don't need to get into codependent relationships or hop from man to man thinking they hold what I'm missing. I'm a whole person now, and that has shifted everything for me. I'm in a position of power, and it feels so right and so good to me. I am finally free. And that's about all I have to say about my spiritual journey from 2013 to 2020. I hope that you got some great tips about what's involved in the ascension process. It is the most challenging and most worthwhile endeavor you will ever take on. Hearing my story might also help my friends and family to understand that I've changed so much on the inside that I'm not really the same person they once knew. This may be okay with some people, and this may not sit so well with other people. I believe that everyone should be growing and shifting and changing and expanding and learning lessons every single day and then giving back to the community. I'm still learning, and I'm still on my path, which never ends, by the way. I'm not perfect, and I'm finally okay with that. I love myself unconditionally, no matter what, because I am worthy and deserving. Until next week, I wish you all the joy and happiness in the world. Thank you for joining me, Allison.